Okay, so for today's video, I wanted to talk about a TV show that I don't think I've talked about on this channel before, but definitely one of the best TV shows out there right now, in my opinion. Definitely one of the shows that's contributing to TV being kind of a more cinematic experience, being a fuller and awesomer way of telling stories, I think. Specifically, this video is going to be a review of Season 2, but I'm going to try and keep it a pretty short video. And I know I always say that, and I end up droning on and on and on and on for like 20 minutes. But since the season, it still just was released, I want to keep it a little bit brief and general and not spoiler-filled. So I want to give a general opinion of this season. I mean, definitely the first season was great. It was tremendous. It came out last year on Netflix. It was one of Netflix's staple shows. Like, other than Arrested Development, there was House of Cards, Hemlock Grove, which I never watched Hemlock Grove. But this is like the signature Netflix show, I think, in my opinion. And kind of the interesting thing about Netflix is that the whole season is available like in one day, so like you can binge watch and watch one after the other, which is what I mean generally what people do when shows come to DVD, Blu-ray anyway. So I mean some people are like I like to space it out, but me, I'm like I want to get the full experience, which is great for a show like this. Other shows maybe it doesn't work quite as well because it's good to space it out, but this I love getting the full experience because it is like each season kind of like a big movie, I think at least. So yeah, anyway, I thought season 1 really kind of just opened the floodgates and showed what a great program they could bring to this streaming service of all things. HBO levels of great programming, which is very interesting. I mean, that's pretty much the future, I think, of television. So I mean, there'll always be a place for network shows, but for shows that want to take a little bit more risk, be a little bit more racy, which this show certainly is, it's no holds barred. So anyway, one of the good things that I like about this show is that it just so, I don't know how it does, but it really and it just brings you into the mindset of this the life and the goings-ons and the trivialities of life in this prison, basically. Like I remember in season 1, that whole thing, like like Piper Chapman, she's pretty much the main character of the show. It's her story, based on Piper Kerman, who wrote the book upon which this show is based, Orange is the New Black. You get you get like a sense that there's a point of no return, and she's been sucked into the mentality of this prison. The chicken episode, where she's running around looking for the chicken for Red, just obsessed with this chicken, leaving all other priorities, at the side. I think that's kind of the episode where I realized how much I love this show, and so. From that point forward, there's pretty much no going back. But this season, I mean, it picks up exactly where season 1 left off, which was a horrible cliffhanger. Where Pensatucky and Chapman, they're in the yard, and the warden kind of sees something, but he like kind of looks the other way basically, and then she just boom, beating her up because, whatever. That's where it ends. And you're like, oh my god, what? Oh, wait till next year. Oh my god. No, but that was bad. But it, like, picks up and it keeps it mysterious, which I like. Like, the very first episode of this season, you're wondering, along with Chapman, what the hell is going on? They're keeping it in solitary. They're bringing her on a plane. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? She's brought into another prison in Chicago, and you're thinking, whoa, is this gonna be like the new season? Is she gonna be at this prison? But then you're like, no, wait, it shows the cast and whatever. But then it all becomes a lot clearer, and I thought that was really well done, really funny, but also tense and scary, and just absurd, kind of a real funny absurdity to the show, which I like, which it really just boom, hits the ground running with season 2. Um, but the interesting thing about this season is that even though, I mean, still you could argue that Piper is the main character, which she is. There's at least maybe 1 or 2 episodes where she's either not in it at all or barely in it. So what the show is doing, it's showing that there are, of course, other important characters. So many to name. Like it was definitely. I thought Suzanne, Crazy Eyes, was that was definitely one of the staple characters of the season. Rosa, she was, oh man, she was probably like the highlight of the season for me personally. And Lorna Morello. I don't want to give it away though, but there's interesting things with her, and just Poussey and Tasty and that whole thing, just really, really well done in showing all the characters, and kind of like like a show like Lost or whatever, they'll show the flashbacks or whatever, and kind of that's what I find interesting about this show is like you kind of think, well, when we see their social economic climate in these flashbacks, you kind of think like, wow, this is where they're heading all their lives. They just didn't know it, sort of like. And in other cases, maybe it's just like a really bad mistake that they made, like Piper does. So it's very interesting seeing their lives before getting into the prison, which it's interesting seeing their backgrounds, and that's one of the things I really love about this show. And they really kind of they do it quite a bit in season 1, but I think they upped it a little bit more in season 1. Season 2, I mean, they upped a lot of things. Like I thought it was a much funnier season. Definitely a lot more conflict in this season. And there's just more to the characters I felt in this season, more stories to go around and kind of expand the experience. Even like with the COs and then the wardens, I thought they really kind of made them more important in this season, and so it all kind of connects in this weird way. This weird, soul-sucking building where they're all confined to, either by choice through career or through the mistakes they've made in their lives. So they're all just kind of packed in together, and all the conflict that arises through that, and either the trivial things or the very serious things that arise in this season. And I thought that was one really, really big thing that this season did a lot better than the first season. It actually brought us a pretty effective antagonist in V. Parker, which, I mean, you could argue that, in season 1 it was Pensatucky who's kind of quote-unquote the bad guy, but, she wasn't too different from anyone else. She's just, whatever, a little extreme and egomaniacal, I guess. But, you kind of saw where she was coming from. With V, she's pure evil almost, and she's just, there's a realism that comes from this type of character. I haven't read the book. I don't know if this is a person who's referenced in the book, but this is the kind of person where this kind of horrible, manipulative person is the reason why you'll find so many people in a place like this, just because they'll know how to use them, know how to manipulate them. Get them to do what they want. She's just pure evil. But I mean, at the same time, you can kind of sort of understand her plight, sort of. And it's really funny how, like, the beginning of the siege, she's like, I'm too old, I'm just going to keep my head down. Meanwhile, boom, next few episodes, she's, like, running shit, creating this empire within the prison. And, it kind of, like, one of the main arcs of this season is who gets control over the importing and the kitchen. And like I kind of thought to myself, yeah, this is kind of like Game of Thrones, except instead of the Iron Throne, it's the kitchen, and instead of like different houses, it's different groups or races. So I mean, that I thought it was interesting. I really did. But definitely V, she brought the tension to the season to a whole different level, and I do think, because other factors as well, but because of this character, I think it brought the season to a much higher level, and yeah, I do think it is a better season than the first season. Though both are really good. I'm really interested to see how it plays out in future seasons, and part of it because we can still identify with Piper as the main character. We definitely can, but I like how they kind of, in some cases, when necessary, they brought him to the periphery of the story. Of course, you still get all the stuff with her fiance or now ex-fiance and all that stuff. That was good too. I mean, maybe some people will argue that maybe not too necessary their whole thing, but I liked it. I thought it was really well done because we need some kind of anchor to the real world, sort of. And I think the Jason Biggs character and the best friend character. I think they do it well with that. So there's that as well. So I don't know. I think it is very necessary. So, I mean, I could understand certain criticisms that maybe they should have left that out, but I don't think so personally. But yeah, I mean, just a great season, lots of laughs, lots of great memorable lines, and one definitely part of the show that I'll always remember now is the whole conversation about pee holes. I won't say anymore, but that was so good. And oh man, just again, it is kind of like a cinematic experience. So there's themes and arcs to this season, and everything does come to a great resolution. The ending of this season, just fantastic. I was jumping up, I was fist pumping, I was clapping, and then I was getting emotional, man. Because it is shit. Just thinking about it, it is. It makes you. I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, but I thought this was a great season of a great show. I can't wait for more, but I'm going to have to wait a year for more. But, it's, the future of television. You can binge watch, you can space it out, but I think I prefer, binge watching a show like this. Yeah, and I don't see how it's any different than, like you always see, or hear on the news or whatever, like, oh, Dan Brown's new book is coming out, and you see the footage of all the people in line, and they sit down right in the store, and they're reading it as fast as possible, sitting and reading. So, it's not much different than, the release of this show is not much different than the release of a Dan Brown book, except this is actually good. Anyway, great show. I love this show. Probably one of my favorite shows now. Definitely something I want to revisit. Definitely something where the characters make it what it is, and the writing is just top notch. And yeah, just so funny, but also very engaging emotionally. And there's just so much that you can find in this show that you can take value out of, and that's kind of what it is about TV shows, storytelling in general. It does kind of we're anybody, me, you, anybody watching this video right now, we only have one set of eyes to view the world in, and that's kind of the power of storytelling. And you wouldn't think that the life and trivialities and just the general goings on of minimum security women's prison would be something of interest. And that's kind of, I was hesitant to start this show to begin with, because I'm like, well, what is it, like Oz or something? I didn't really like Oz. Can't think of other prison shows, but whatever. But I'm so glad around this time last year I took a chance on this show. Click play on Netflix, never turned back. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't seen this show, please check out this show. Worth the $8 for Netflix subscriptions alone. It's one of the best shows out there, in my opinion. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So I don't think I give away any spoilers here. So whatever, watch the show. Great show. Orange is the New Black. Great stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching.